So welcome to the cockpit of the Parallel 42 FreedomFox. I suppose more specifically today we're actually flying the Kit Fox as opposed to the FreedomFox. The FreedomFox livery, of course, made famous by Trent Palmer. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with his channel. Anyway, Parallel 42 were kind enough to lend us the aircraft for a bit of a flight. We're not going to be carrying out a review in today's video, we're just going to be taking the aircraft on a little bit of an adventure. We've just departed out of Trent Palmer's residence, just out to the north of the city of Reno. And we're taking quite a short flight today, tracking out towards Pyramid Lake. The lake itself is about another 25 miles out to our northeast. And we're going to be aiming to land just on the little island on the lake. We're going to park the aircraft up there, we'll spend the night there. One of the nice little touches with the FreedomFox, we do actually get our own camping equipment on board the aircraft, which obviously a small little feature at the end of the day, but I don't know why, but to me that really sparks my imagination. I think obviously Microsoft Flight Simulator is the best sim by far to go on a bit of an adventure, go and explore the scenery. And just the idea of having a little tent that you can pop up at the end of each flight, I think makes the whole experience that little bit more immersive, and it's actually something I've quite wanted in an aircraft for a while, so it's fortuitous that we now have that functionality in the sim. Anyway, you can already see the lake off at our 11 o'clock currently. Again, quite a short hop today. We'll plan to carry out a few more flights in the FreedomFox in the future. I think, again, the aircraft ideally suited to going on some adventures, so planning that we'll maybe explore various parts of the world, whether that's a little bit of an island tour or maybe multi-sector hop across various countries. I think that's really where Microsoft Flight Simulator shines. Currently we know the flight modelling could use a little bit of work, but certainly as far as the scenery goes, it's pretty much unparalleled with any other sim. In terms of features currently, obviously we've got quite a few mountains around us. We've got Flying Eagle private airstrip just off at our 10 o'clock, and we should also have Rolling Thunder private strip more or less off the nose. We'll keep an eye out for those as we go. But again, Microsoft Flight Simulator I think is the sim for exploration, and the FreedomFox lends itself very nicely to doing that. It's a STOL aircraft, you can land the thing on a dime, so you can pretty much explore anywhere in the world. And it cruises along fairly slowly as well. We're doing about 90 knots here over the ground, or 100 knots TAS. So you've really got time to take in the scenery and appreciate it as you go. We should have a pretty major road running up from Reno. That should be out off our right wing currently. And actually you can just see the road there, just coming below the coaming there on the engine. The road peels off towards the northeast, leads out towards the lake. We'll make our way between the two mountain ranges here down the valley out towards the lake itself. Of course, avoid the high terrain as best we can. And cracking along quite nicely here. Got 30 inches on the manifold pressure. We're burning about 3¼ gallons per hour on the little Rotax engine. Another nice feature of the aircraft, you can actually customise the FreedomFox and the Kit Fox. Currently we've got the smallest Rotax engine available to the aircraft, but we can actually fit out a beefier one as well, and I think we'll do that when we take another flight in the aircraft in the future. Particularly if we're going to be covering slightly larger distances. Cracking along at 120 knots is a little bit more preferable to 90. Anyway, this is Flying Eagle strip just down below us. Fairly interesting looking airfield. Again, that's a private strip. We should have a glider port as well, just off from that. And Rolling Thunder should be passing just down the right wing. It looks like we've got that just below the aircraft. The runway in the sim there, not quite overlaying with the real world scenery. A couple of farms just coming off the right wing. and the road, as you can see, leading out towards the lake. There's the little island that we're planning to land on. Presumably Pyramid Lake gets its name from the island. The island is slightly pyramid shaped, I suppose. The island itself looks as though it's probably a wildlife refuge according to the chart. The Anaho Island National Wildlife Refuge. So we're probably unfortunately going to go and disturb the local wildlife here with our landing. Pretty sizable lake, Pyramid Lake. The island's about 1/3 up from the southerly extreme of the lake. You can see it extends quite far north. We're going to head out towards the island and we'll do a bit of a lap around the island, check out the terrain and see what sort of options we've got in terms of landing. The wind's out from the southeast more or less, having looked at some of the smokestacks as we departed. So ideally, of course, we want to land into wind if we can. According to the chart, in reality there's extensive glider activity up to flight level 180 in the area, but I don't suspect we're going to see much of that in the sim today. The hills off the nose, they're pretty much extending up to around 7,500 feet, so again pretty sizable hills here. We're just below 7,000 currently. It's going to be a pretty cold day for our camping trip as well. It's actually just above freezing, I believe, at the moment. But again, we've got plenty of equipment down the back to keep us warm overnight. Now we've got a little town down there at our 10 o'clock, just off the other side of the hills. That's the town of Sutcliffe. But overall, enjoying the FreedomFox so far. It's a good fun little aircraft. I think a really nice option in the sim. As with most add-ons, it has its strengths, it has its weaknesses. Attention to detail in the modelling is absolutely excellent. Really nicely modelled, really nicely textured aircraft. The external sounds are really good as well. Internally the sound's currently a little bit on the weaker side, but Parallel 42 I gather are working on an update for that, and I think from what I understand the sound recording themselves are actually from the real aircraft, so they're pretty accurate. It's just that they're using the legacy sound engine. So they do sound a little bit weaker than the more modern sound system in the sim. There's no change in sound, for example, opening up the door. The aircraft's good fun to fly again. Very easy to carry out stall manoeuvring in the aircraft. I would say it doesn't have too much weight to it, but obviously with it being an ultralight that may well be true to life, and I've never actually flown an ultralight myself in the real world, so a little bit difficult to say how accurate that is, but I did actually see Trent Palmer himself say that they've tried to model the aircraft as closely as possible to the real world FreedomFox, so it gets his seal of approval at least. Some aircraft in the sim, when I showcase them to you, it does become a little bit laborious trying to get the video done, as you're constantly second guessing the aircraft, but this one it's very easy to fly, pretty confident that it's not going to do anything I'm not expecting. Just coming up over the shores of the lake. We'll be crossing over to the water in just a moment's time. Another really nice feature about the FreedomFox, Parallel 42 are actually going to keep the aircraft up to date in line with the real world FreedomFox, so if you are a big fan of Trent Palmer and his channel, then if you do purchase the aircraft you'll have basically the same functionality there as the real world aircraft, which is a pretty cool feature, and goes to show as well that Parallel 42 are pretty keen on keeping the aircraft up to date. And on that note, I've owned the FreedomFox now for a couple of weeks, and I would say every few days Parallel 42 have been putting out an update for the aircraft, so that's really great to see always that a developer keeps on top of the product. Anyway, coming up over the island, as I say, we'll make an orbit around the hills. Ideally, of course, in reality, we'd probably look to land down on the shore there. Looks like there's a few good locations, but we want to land up on the hills today just to really get the view once we're parked up. We'll carry out our downwind checks now, so brakes are checked and off, undercarriage is down, mixture is rich, fuel pumps can come on, instruments are checked, landing light can come on, we'll get the wig-wag lights on as well, hopefully scare away any of that wildlife in the descent. We'll come back off the power, we'll just orbit the island, and we'll try and get a really good look at the hills, get a feel for the terrain. Again, obviously, ideally we want to land into wind, but preferable still to that will be if we can land upslope just to reduce our landing roll. You can see there is a fairly flat spot up on the top of the hills there, so looking to land there at the moment, thinking we'll actually land facing in the current direction that we're looking. That looks to be upslope. And we've got quite a nice crest on the hill there we can park up and set up our tent. Just come a little bit further back off the power, get nice and low, give us the best possible opportunity to check out the terrain in the landing area. Fairly rugged up on the tops of the hills here, but again it does look like there's a few clear patches. Now we'll just bleed off some speed slightly as well here, just to give us plenty of time to assess the area. So currently I'm thinking the best opportunity here is going to be to land just off the leading edge of the wing facing uphill. Looks like quite a nice clear spot, we've got plenty of distance there as well. And again it's uphill facing, so that should help us to slow the aircraft down. It will be downwind unfortunately, so we'll have a little bit of a tailwind, but the upslope of the hill there is going to more than offset that. So to me that does look like the best landing spot. We're pretty much on a downwind now, so we'll continue to track outbound. Another good thing about landing in the opposite direction, we're not going to have the sun in our faces for the landing. So coming off the power, we'll let the speed come back into the white arc and then we'll start taking some flap. And we'll go full flaps, swing the aircraft around. Looking at the airspeed indicator there, the stall speed of the Kitfox around 40 knots, so we'll aim to come in around 45, we don't want to carry any extra speed. And the FreedomFox is really nice in that respect, the aircraft handles very well at low speed, there's no surprises. It's very easy to control right up until the stall, which again really helps with the stall flying of the aircraft. Okay, so the landing area is straight off the nose. We'll hug the side of the hill on our right, just to keep us straight down the middle of the landing area. Again, just a few knots above the stall speed here. The landing area is upsloping, so we're going to have to account for that during the flare. And everything looking good at the moment. Right on the edge of the stall, holding the aircraft off. Coming off the power, there's touchdown, onto the brakes, and right back on the stick. We'll keep the tail down. Pretty close to the side of the hill here, so we'll keep a good lookout. We'll make a really slow taxi, just come right up to the crest of the hill, again just to help us take in the scenery, and we'll swing the Kitfox around. Very careful not to overshoot the side of the hill here. Overall it's pretty flat up in our current position. Park brake can go on. Just come up slightly on the throttle. And we are ready for the shutdown, so the wig-wag lights can come off, as can the landing lights and the strobes. Fuel pumps can come off. We'll get the avionics off. And we'll cut the ignition. Good shutdown there on the Rotax. Master switch can come off. And we'll get the nav lights and the cockpit lights off. Throttle is closed. Flaps can come up. We'll get the cockpit door opened up. And again, a nice little feature, we'll unpack the tent, we'll get that set up on the side of the hill. We can spend the day up here enjoying the scenery and the wildlife from our excellent vantage point, and we'll get our heads down later on today for a spot of camping.
So there you go guys, I hope you enjoyed our outing in the Parallel 42 FreedomFox. Once again, I think the aircraft is a really nice option for adventuring in the sim, and as I say, I'm sure we'll have some more adventures in the aircraft at a later date. For now though, it's time to get our heads down, get a bit of rest. As always, I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider giving it a like. If you want to see more content from the channel and you've not yet subscribed, then please consider subscribing as well. As ever, a huge thank you to my channel members and patrons for all of your support. It's very much appreciated. I hope that all of you are having a great day wherever you are. Take really good care, and I will see you all again soon.